You're good.
Okay, welcome everybody. Right off the bat, do y'all see the minutes from the April 14th board meeting? I'm going to try to test something here. See if I can't show them on my screen to facilitate things a little bit. There we go. If I can get the Zoom stuff out of the window. There we go. Oh, no, that's the wrong document.
That's the wrong document.
Trust me, I'm a computer guy. That's what they tell me anyway. Here we go. All right, did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes? Or do we need some time right now to do it?
It looked okay to me.
Okay. Marv, give me a heads up when you're all set with it.
Yeah, I'm all set with it.
Okay. Any corrections, additions, or deletions? If not, we will accept the minutes as written. Okay, Linda, I'll sign this.
Yeah, not a
Assuming
problem.
there's been no changes, and get this to you. Okay. I just got a message from Scott. Scott's going to be a few minutes late. Okay. Next is the abstract. Linda, you mentioned today there were budget modifications.
Yeah, definitely have budget modifications in all the funds except library.
Okay. Can I get a motion to accept budget modifications?
Move it.
I'll make them.
I think I heard Bob first.
Marvel
second?
second. Yeah.
Marvel second. Okay. All right, let's get a vote. Bob,
Yes.
Marv,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Any discussion? Okay. Now the abstract. Everybody get a chance to look at the abstract. This is a
Yep.
pretty long document, but I'll put it on the screen so you can see what I'm referring to.
I just had one question. What is Constellation New Energy? What's that involved? See them on Rest Area 11, Route 26.
We have two energy companies. One's NYSEG and Constellation New Energy is the second one. So we have both. So we get bills from both of them.
So what's the Rest Area one? Is that the one up on Route 81 or something? Or?
Yeah, our water area up there. We service the water there.
Oh, I see. I
So
got it. I didn't realize.
So 2/3 of the cost goes to Lyle and 1/3 goes to the Whitney Point water.
Okay. That explains it.
I think we have, I'm going to say almost 20 some odd accounts with Constellation and NYSEG between all the water, the pump stations, and all of our buildings.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that Fran?
Hi, Fran. How can I help you?
We'll give Linda a moment.
Okay, let me see if I can do this real quick. I can't minimize. Jason, can you forward her the meeting stuff? Sorry, I can't minimize my screen while we're
What's your
going.
email real quick again?
Fran Leahy, 72 what? 68? 7262 at F Leahy. Sorry, F Leahy 7262
At
at
Yahoo?
Yahoo. And now we've just told everybody because it's all on Zoom. Sorry.
All right.
All right, he's sending you the link again, Fran.
Yeah, once I find it.
Okay.
here.
And if you can't get in with that, let me know. Okay. Thanks. Bye. Sorry about that, guys.
Hey, let me stop my share here so you guys don't all see my email. And it's Leahy. Okay.
I can show the abstract just, just as well. I've got you going while
Thank you.
Jason's doing that. So
Oh.
did anybody have any questions on the general fund?
I did not see anything in the abstract that I was questioning.
Okay, Marv?
No, I'm okay.
Okay, obviously, we've gotten part of our expenses have come in for the overhead door from rewiring and stuff, but the door itself has not come in yet. So that part of the expense is there. All right.
Okay, the mail
So,
sent.
okay, so I'm on water. Any questions on water?
No, they did have some issues with some pump stations,
Yes.
which will be in the report.
Right.
But
Which was, I believe, Perry Street.
he said Perry Street. He said
They had to bring W2O in to pull
W-
the pump.
there's a pump on Hickory Street that W2O had to come in and do some rewiring on. That was in the realm of about $280. He said they're having an issue with a well level sensor on what was that? Whitney Acres. Apparently the sensors just stopped. It started up again, but it stopped again. So they are going to have to call somebody in to take a look at that.
So any
Okay.
questions on water? Or yeah, on water? If not, sewer? Any questions in sewer?
No.
Anything in the library is just informational only.
Yep. Just so you guys know, Marv, I'm not sure if you're aware, but the library is fairly autonomous. They do all their own
I'll mention
decision
it
making.
to him again.
We just
All right, thanks.
provide
Alright.
oversight.
Okay.
Having issues?
Yeah, she never got your email.
Okay. FLEAHY.
Sorry, you'll see my screen now.
Yeah. Okay. No, it was sent. So, Linda, she calls back. There is a link on whitneypoint.org. I do
Okay.
put the link on the website, along with the phone number and the meeting ID. So that goes for anybody who has trouble connecting. I do try to keep that link up to date with the latest meeting info. And
I just spelled that wrong, but I'm in a hurry. So
all right,
there.
Scott says
I
it'll be
just
on
sent
by-
mine too. So
All right, good.
nobody else has tried to come in. So sorry.
Okay. All right. Any comments on any items in the abstract? Okay. Linda, do we need to approve those, or is that?
Yeah,
part of-
yeah. Nobody's even made a motion to accept.
Oh, we got to do all that. Okay, I was making sure.
We got to do all that. We've done the budget, but modification, but not this.
Linda, oh, sorry, Linda. Guys, can I get a motion to approve the abstract?
I'll make the motion to approve the abstract.
Marv,
Second,
second from Bob. Okay. And vote. Bob,
yes.
Marv,
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Any discussion?
So we have one more month left in this fiscal year. You will probably see several accounts getting very, very close for next month, or people trying to get their budgets down to nothing left. Okay. So you will see an increase there. Fran's getting on.
Oh, good. Well, hold on a second.
Hi, Fran.
Oh, we got a visitor.
There she is.
Can't hear her though.
No, but
Okay, can you hear us, Fran?
she's not muted, but I don't hear. She's
Oh, she's
connecting
still
to
connecting
audio.
Yep. Isn't technology wonderful? This is what I have to deal with every day.
That's what you get when you work with us.
Okay,
Sorry, Franny.
Okay, I don't want to keep Terry waiting too much longer here.
yeah.
Okay, so we made the motion, we voted, and we discussed.
Done. Yep, we're good.
Nothing else. Okay, number 3 is discussion on the Stretch New York grant. I wanted to welcome Terry Carroll, who's visiting us. He's the program manager for the New York State Clean Energy Communities. He's been working with David, trying to find ways to complete clean energy actions so we can earn some funding in our community. Welcome, Terry, and feel free to take it away if you'd like.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about or listen to the presentation today. I guess I'll start by saying, can everyone see my presentation there okay?
Yep.
Fantastic.
Yep.
So as Jason said, my name is Terry Carroll. I manage the Southern Tier Clean Energy Communities program for Cornell Cooperative Extension. And the Clean Energy Communities program is a program that's out of the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, or NYSERDA. And the program is there to encourage New York State communities to both implement clean energy actions and save energy costs, but hopefully that the program is going to create some jobs and ultimately improve the environment. And the program is here for counties, cities, towns, and villages, and it rewards and recognizes leadership of completions of clean energy action. So for municipalities, some of the reasons to participate in this program, and the number one reason that we hear from municipalities is that there is grant funding. So this program, the leadership round of the Clean Energy Communities program, has over $800,000 earmarked specifically for Southern Tier communities. And so that means over the course of the next 4 to 5 years, we're going to be seeing $800,000 at least in funding go to towns and villages and cities in the Southern Tier. In terms of the program actions, the actions themselves within the program, they're there to save municipalities, the money on energy and operational costs, and also to help promote community investment. So a lot of the things that you're going to be doing is going to take investment from municipal funds. We're going to try and offset that with some of that grant funding. And then there's that statewide recognition piece I already talked about. But the understated thing about this program is that we also offer a lot of free technical assistance. And so myself and my team have a lot of experience when it comes to energy. We've helped municipalities do a bunch of things. So we're always happy to talk to municipalities about any of the goals that they might have when it comes to energy, whether it's changing their streetlights out to LEDs or converting their heating system over to something different and more efficient. We're here to provide whatever assistance we can. But let's focus for a moment on the program actions and the grant funding themselves. So the original program had 10 different actions. And if you completed 4 out of 10 actions, you became what's called a designated clean energy community and you were able to obtain funding. This new version of the program still has those original 10 actions, but it's added on a few more new ones for you to take a look at. And the way the program works now is that each action is worth different amounts of points, and getting a certain amount of points will lead you to be able to get grant funding. So I'll come back to this, slide in just a moment to talk a little bit more about the specific actions, but I wanted to talk a little bit first about the ways to get funding. So I already mentioned the first one, complete 4 high impact actions, receive $5,000. And I'm happy to say that Whitney Point has done that. You've been able to complete 4 high impact actions, and just recently you were awarded $5,000 for completing those 4 high impact actions. So congratulations on that. But there's still 2 more ways in which you can receive funding. So that second way is what I was just referencing, the points-based grants, that completing a certain amount of actions is going to let you get a certain amount of points, and then you will be eligible for grant funding based on how many points you have. But the third way has to do with action grants. And so if I flip back just a little bit, you'll see that 2 of those actions are marked in yellow. Those are the New York Stretch Energy Code and this idea of community campaigns. And completing those actions will not only grant you the points associated with them, but it will also make you eligible for $5,000 in additional grant funding. And I'll talk about that in just a minute and continue it on. So let's turn back to the points-based grants. And so the points-based grants are on a first come, first served basis. And once the grants are gone, they're gone. The good news for Whitney Point is that you're considered a small and medium-sized community. You have a population that's under 40,000 residents, which means that the grants that are available to you are from this pot that's Southern Tier specific. So you're going to be duking it out with communities in Steuben, Schuyler, Chemung, Tompkins, Tioga, Shenango, Delaware, in addition to all the other communities in Broome County. But you're not fighting it out with the entire state like our larger communities have to do. And so as you're doing actions, you'll accumulate points. And when you hit these 3 different thresholds, 3,000 points, 4,000 points, and 5,000 points, you will then become eligible for the grant funding should there still be awards available. So right now, there are still 40 grants available for communities that get to 3,000 points. And by doing so, you'll be eligible for $10,000 in grant funding. The first 10 communities to get to 4,000 points in our region will be eligible for $20,000. And the first 4 to get to $5,000 will be eligible for $70,000. And all of these are cumulative. So if you are the first to, one of the first 40 to 3,000, one of the first 10 to 4,000, one of the first 4 to 5,000, you'll be collecting $100,000 in total from this grant program through the points-based grants. But in addition to that, there's also those 2 action grants that I was talking about. And so the New York Stretch Energy Code is essentially adopting an enhanced version of the current energy code. So it's about 10% better than what the current energy code is right now. And it means that we're going to be tightening up buildings a little bit more. We're going to make them what's called solar and EV ready. So requiring that new construction runs conduits to the roof and to the garage so that if anyone ever wants to put in solar later on, it's going to be much easier than what they would have to do in an existing building and trying to retrofit it. So the first 100 communities statewide that adopt the New York Stretch Code, they're going to receive $5,000. And so I looked earlier today, I believe 5 communities have already done this. So there's still 95 grants available. So there's still plenty to take a look at, but certainly you won't want to wait too long because we do expect all those grants to be gone by the end of the year. On the community campaign side, this is an action where we're encouraging as a municipality, our residents to take a look at different energy options. And so there's 4 different types of community campaigns. There's one around community solar, another around electric vehicles, a third around this idea of demand response, trying to reduce energy usage at peak loads, and then a fourth that's about energy efficiency and heat pumps. And essentially what we see is if municipalities are promoting these campaigns to their residents and they can get 10 of their residents to sign up, they'll receive $5,000. And this is also cumulative. So if you do a campaign around electric vehicles and 10 residents buy electric vehicles, you'll get $5,000. If you do another campaign to encourage residents to do energy efficiency actions and install heat pumps, that would be another $5,000. And so there's a real chance with both the points-based grants and the action grants to really start accumulating funding overall. So I'm going to jump back to that high impact action page just to talk about a few more actions. And some of these Whitney Point has already done, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But as you can see, there's a bunch of different pathways that you can take in order to get to the different points values. And some actions are certainly worth more than others. So New York Stretch is one of our highest point value items, along with things like community choice aggregation, benchmarking, streetlights. But we also have some easier actions that are worth less points. And so we'll see right now kind of where Whitney Point is. And so, as I said, you've completed 4 high impact actions, making you a designated clean energy community. And the actions that you've completed are benchmarking. So you're benchmarking your municipal buildings, the energy code training. So last year or a couple of years ago, you sent your code enforcement officer to a training on the energy code. That qualified for an action. I will say that there is a new energy code enforcement training action where if you send your code enforcement officer to a training, you can get points again for that action. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. The village has changed its streetlights over to LEDs, so you qualify for that specific action. And then the final one is you adopted the unified solar permit several years ago. So you made it easier for residents to put solar on their house or in their backyards. And so currently the village has 1,000 points. So when we're looking at the different points tiers, 3,000, 4,000, and 5,000 points, you're not right there in terms of getting to that first tier of 3,000 points, but you're a lot better off than many communities have been, already are. So you're about a third of the way there. And as I said before, you've already received the $5,000 for becoming designated. So in terms of where to go from here, I think part of it is, and I've been having conversations with, Dave Down for a while. I've talked a little bit with Jason via email. I think part of it is thinking about, okay, what are our municipalities' goals? Are there building upgrades that we need to make? David was telling me about how there's a heating system that needs to be replaced, I believe, at the highway garage. There's improvements that, people have wanted to do at the wastewater treatment facility, or, even putting solar there. So, what are you looking to do in terms of building upgrades? Are there places where you'd like to reduce energy costs or maybe get solar panels? Are you trying to connect your residents to the different energy resources available? So whatever your goals are, let us know, and we can try and help you meet those goals with the actions that exist. And that's really what our job is to identify how this program can help you with what you want to do. And so for some municipalities, they just want to get funding so that they can do a project. Great, we'll identify the easiest way for you to get funding so that you can get that project done. For others, they want to, they see this as a long-term goal. They want to go through the program overall. And so we kind of look at it systematically. Okay, what's the first step that we can do, and how can we use that to build on to some of these other actions? And once we identify a path, we'll work with you to basically compile, review, and submit documentation to the program so that you can get actions approved, obtain more points, and eventually become able to apply for that grant funding for meeting the different threshold. So one of the strategies to consider, and this is a conversation that I had with the prior mayor, David Downs, about some actions that might be of interest. So if we're looking to just get to that 3,000 point threshold, again, a review, you have 1,000 points right now, 4 actions completed. Some of the actions that you might want to consider include things like that New York Stretch Energy Code. That's a huge point getter. It's worth $5,000 grant in and of itself. But others to think about is the energy code enforcement training. So if you were to send your code enforcement officer to the new training, that would be worth another 200 points. And they would also get continuing education credits, something that they have to do every year as part of the state certification. So definitely worthwhile. The community campaigns action. We have a lot of partners in the area that are running these campaigns already. So Broome County is considering engaging in a community solar campaign to try and get residents to think about signing up for community solar. But we also have some others that are thinking about running clean heating and cooling / energy efficiency campaigns, really trying to promote residents thinking about energy efficiency and heat pumps. And then the last action that we threw in there is that clean energy upgrades, that one that's right there in the middle worth 500 points. And this is an action that I think the village could qualify pretty easily based on some of the actions that David had told me were being considered. So switching interior lights to LEDs, replacing that old inefficient heating system with something that's more efficient. So if you take that $5,000 grant that you already got from the first round of the program and invested some of that funding into the existing buildings, into the heating system, you might be able to leverage that to then do some of these other actions and end up getting, another 2,100 points. That would give you a total of 3,100 points. And that would make you eligible for that first tier of grants. So $10,000. In addition to that, if you did the other actions that we specify, you'd get a $5,000 action grant for the New York Stretch Code and a $5,000 action grant for the community campaigns. So this path, if you were able to get through it all, would lead to about $20,000 in total. So that's pretty great. That's a really fantastic thing to be able to take care of and take on. So that's definitely one strategy. There's many others. And so we encourage municipalities to take a look at the actions that are available. We have a great website that I'll show at the end. There's also a NYSERDA website that you can take a look at and see what all the different options are. But our job is to work with municipalities to figure out what's going to work best for them and to figure out what path makes them feel the most comfortable. And so once we identify that, that's when we kick in and start helping do the actions themselves. And so in terms of the next steps, some of them have already been done. I've been talking with David a little bit about kind of what things might be going on, how we can help, what actions to consider. Jason, obviously invited me to come in just to make you all aware of this program as well. So hopefully things can go a little bit more smoothly. So things are continuing on. I think, it can be a little bit overwhelming. It's a lot of information. I understand that. I will say that we're always here to help. And so you can call me, you can email me at any time, and I'm happy to, take questions and, give out answers and try and help out where I can. You can also visit that website right there, southerntiercec.org. We have a bunch of information there. You can take a look at what other communities have done, both in Broome County as well as in, the rest of the Southern Tier, and really take a look at what's been going on. So I'll pause there. As I said, a lot of information to take in, but I'm happy to take any questions right now, or if you want to just, synthesize it all and email me later or call me, I'd be happy to answer at that point too.
I have a couple questions. You had mentioned about doing this campaigns and things with the community, trying to encourage them to do different things. What if nobody went ahead and purchased an electric vehicle? How would we, as the village, know that a resident has gone out and purchased an electric vehicle? We as a village wouldn't know that per se.
Yeah, that's a great point. So there's a couple of ways we've seen municipalities take this on. So for some of them, they have, partnerships with the existing dealerships in, Broome County, the surrounding area that might be selling these vehicles. And so they might say, hey, if you have one of our residents buy one of these vehicles, if you could let us know, that would help us out in this program. And we've heard that dealerships are willing to do that. The other thing that we've seen is some municipalities just put up a link on their website saying, we're interested in finding out what actions you're doing, whether you're, joining community solar or you're buying an electric vehicle, and we can create a really simple Google form that will kick out that information into a spreadsheet. And then you would just be able to, check that spreadsheet and say, oh yeah, we've gotten 5 people to buy electric vehicles. We've gotten, 6 people to sign up for community solar, whatever it might be. It does require that residents be willing to kind of share that information. But what we've seen by and large is that, a lot of people are willing to help out their village if it's going to get them some funding, and they're willing to, contribute some of that information. So it's not a perfect system, but I think that's where we're at right now.
What if nobody decides to do it after you've gone to this? Then you don't get those points?
Then you don't know. Unfortunately, you don't. So,
Okay.
some of them are harder to do. I mean, the one that you picked out from the beginning, getting 10 people to buy electric vehicles, that's tough. That's one of the hardest ones there. The flip side is getting 10 people to sign up for a utility demand response program. That might not be so difficult. All they're basically doing is signing up for a program that's offered by NYSEG. Another example, signing up for community solar. People are signing up for it every day. So it's just making sure that you're making them aware that this is an option that they can pursue if they're so interested, and then being able to kind of track them if that's possible. So those are maybe 2 of the easier ones I would say to take a look at.
Okay, just curious. Thank you.
And
Yeah.
aside from the savings you get from the clean energy, is there any direct benefit, like discounts or anything like that, that the residents would get off the bat, or is it just there's no incentive for them other than the clean energy savings?
Yeah, so with the community solar campaigns, what we see kind of as an added benefit is that it's notifying them that there's groups out there to support them in this. So Cornell Cooperative Extension has staff that answers questions. If you are, as a resident, see 3 different companies offering you community solar and you can't tell the difference between one or the other, we offer that ability to contact us, and we can help walk you through your choices and say, hey, this is what this one's saying versus what this other one is saying. And so it's a little bit of, customer support, I would say, resident support in terms of some of these different actions.
Okay.
Which some people find really beneficial.
So we're kind of hoping a lot of people have been thinking about it, and maybe they just need this extra nudge to actually go ahead and do it.
Or extra assistance because they have no idea who to turn to.
Right.
Yeah, and the other thing, speaking specifically about community solar, one of the biggest barriers that we've seen for a lot of folks is it's been a 2 bills, where you would get 1 bill from the utility and you get another bill from the community solar farm. What has happened starting at the beginning of this month is that they've started to consolidate into 1 bill. So now for a lot of folks, when they sign up for community solar, they're just going to get 1 bill from the utility company. They just pay NYSEG just the same as they always have, and they'll see a discount for doing it. So it's notifying people of changes like that can really help boost this. People that have thought about it before and was like, I'm not really interested, but now that is, enough to carry them over that hump.
For instance, I've signed up for community solar through Delaware River, but I signed up last summer and I'm still waiting to get on it. So it's one of those things. And my other questions, you're talking about electric vehicles. What about hybrid vehicles? They save money, but they don't qualify, or what?
So plug-in hybrid vehicles. So the cars that you can plug in part of the time, and then you can also use gasoline in them, those count. The ones that are just straight gasoline that you can't plug in, those do not count. No.
Okay.
Now, I've received
All
lots
right.
of solicitations about making those having those outlets throughout the
That's what I was
village
gonna say.
where people can plug in. Is there anything directly related to that in this program?
Yeah, so one of the actions, it's called Clean Fleets, is you would get points for basically installing an electric vehicle charging stage in the village. And so what actually, there's a ton of funding out there right now from the state to be able to put in these charging stations. And so there's one program that's offered through NYSERDA called Charge Ready New York, which has some specific program requirements where you either have to have a parking lot that's can hold 10 people that's open, to the public for at least 12 hours a day, or that you have 10 employees, so that one has some requirements to it. There's another one that just opened last week through the Department of Environmental Conservation that offers up to $8,000 in funding for these stations to basically be installed. And in terms of, the installation costs, it can cover some of that as well. And then our utility, NYSEG, offers, I think, up to $10,000 or $14,000 to make ready the site. So to lay conduit if you need to do that, or if you need to do trenching or upgrade electrical services, the utility will cover a lot of that cost. So, if that's of interest to the village, we can definitely help you explore the different opportunities there.
Yeah, we've
Ryan?
definitely received a lot of solicitation for it. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds said when he was mayor, he was looking into that as a potential of one of those high impact. And the discussion, if I remember right, was at the library for the location.
Yeah, it's
When
always
the
a question
first
of
four
where you're gonna
impacts were
put it.
looked at.
Yeah.
I mean, it does make sense. I mean, if somebody's got to stop and charge their car, they're gonna patronize the local businesses. So
Yeah.
okay, now I had a quick question regarding the New York Stretch Energy Code.
Yeah.
I'm sort of going based on what Dave explained to me a few weeks ago. Now, this is sort of in anticipation of what the state code is going to be in a few years, right? So
Yeah,
we're
so-
sort of pledging to accept this code and start abiding by this code early. Am I understanding that right?
So essentially I think it's every 3 years, the energy code jumps up a little bit. And so what the stretch code now is what people are anticipating the code is going to be in about 2.5 years time. And so it would be essentially just adopting it a couple years early.
And that was one of the 1,200 points. That was one of the larger points. I
Yeah,
believe,
it's
right?
worth 1,200 points. And if, like I said, if you're one of the first 100 communities, I think now 95 communities to do it, it would also award $5,000.
Okay. To me, that sounds like one of the first places to start. And I can look into that. So, okay. Anybody else have any questions for Terry?
Terry, would you be willing to share your presentation in an email to me? So that way, if the community comes in and wants to actually have a copy of it, that they can do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I can
I would
send it to you
appreciate it.
tomorrow.
Yeah, Terry, I had a question. You mentioned sending our code enforcer to training for, I think it was 200 to 500 points along the one path.
Yeah.
If we had a shared code enforcer, how would that work? Like if we didn't have one and we shared one with another municipality, would we both get credit if he went to
Yeah.
that training?
Yeah.
Okay.
We would both get credit. Yeah.
Awesome.
Good
We've
question.
been fortunate where we've had some communities where, we'll have 4 or 5 communities all share a code enforcement officer.
Right.
That code enforcement officer goes and gets the training, and then all 4 or 5 communities get credit for the action.
That's
It's
what
fantastic.
happens currently.
Okay. Awesome. No, that works for us.
Yeah,
Thanks.
great news. Anybody else have any questions? No, I see Fran's back with us.
I think Fran left based on the last text I got from her.
Oh, really? Okay.
She's showing, but she's not there because she couldn't
not
get
there?
any voice.
Gotcha. Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for coming, Terry. Thank you very much for the information. I know this was something David was actually very passionate about, so I wanted to make sure we didn't let this sort of flounder. So,
Yeah, of course.
Harry, it's very nice to actually put a face with a voice in an
Yeah,
email.
likewise. No, thank you all so much for giving me the opportunity to present to you all. And as I said, if there's ever any questions or any information I can provide, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. And Linda, I'll send you an email tomorrow with the presentation.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
great. Thank you so much, Terry.
All right, take care.
I'm sure we
everyone.
will be in touch. I'll have some questions, I'm sure.
All right, fantastic.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Okay. Any further discussion about that, folks?
I think there's a lot of people that signed up for these solar programs that you're not aware of.
Mhm.
Like our church, Methodist Church, we signed up for it last year for a 5% discount.
Mhm.
The one I'm in Delaware is supposed to be a river, it's supposed to be a 10% discount, but I'm still waiting.
Okay. And then we can ask questions such as, would that count? You know, does it depend on the sign-on date? Does it depend on when you actually start? I don't know. So those
Right.
are all
And,
questions I can collect.
and there's a quota for that, right? We have to have so many residents
I think it was
perform
10.
that. It was 10,
I
or was
believe it
that
was
just the
10.
vehicle? Was that the
Vehicle
community
was
too?
definitely 10.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, there's different categories. There was like electric vehicles, there was demand response, there was heat pumps, there was solar farms. If you get 10 in a particular category,
Okay, so 10 for whichever category you're doing. If you get 10 in that
Right, if
category,
you
you
get
get credit. Okay,
10 people sign up for community solar, you get X.
gotcha. Okay,
If then 10 people sign up for electric vehicles, on top you get additional on top of that. He said it was all
Gotcha.
cumulative.
okay.
I'm sure people signed up for solar, but you don't know unless you can find a way to get them to report that to you.
Right.
Right. Unless NYSEG or one of the other energy companies is willing to work with us to let us know.
Well, and Terry said they would help maybe set up a Google sheet or a Google form or some way to help get residents to report that type of stuff.
And I mean, it's free money. If there are people are going to do it already, let's benefit the community out of it. So we are fairly close.
Yeah, I mean we're a third of the way, right? So
Even if we can get to the 3,000 points, and I know Scott, you missed the beginning of it. We'll get you a copy of the whole presentation. But we're at about 1,000 points right now, and the next level is 3,000.
Yep, I caught that part, and I
Sure.
caught where he had a path for us and some action. So like the stretch, the code enforcement training, the community
Right.
outreach, and one other, and we could hit 3,000. And essentially, two of them, like the New York stretch, if we do that early on, we get an extra 5,000 there.
All right.
So a total of 20 grand, right?
Right.
So yeah, we got to do what we can to try.
Right. So I think 3,000 is definitely attainable, and depending on how gung ho people are, maybe even higher.
Well, we're already converting our LED, our lights at the sewer plant to LEDs. So that's another one of those options that they had in there. So
I believe the new heating system at the garage will also count,
that will help. Yep.
which is
So
what we're
those two-
using the 5,000 we already received for.
Right. So those
Okay.
two will help. And the code enforcement right now up until June 7th, when he goes for training, we also get credit for that. So depending on what we do from June 7th on.
Well, and that's why I asked that question,
Yeah,
right?
no,
If we can get him to the training first, we get credit. But if we
Right.
have to share a resource, we'll also get credit. And maybe
Right,
that's
and
part of.
and he very well might have already gone, and I can ask him that because
Okay.
usually his training's in April when he goes away to Rochester for a week. So I can ask him if he's been this year.
So we might be farther along than we think.
Yeah.
So I will try and collect as many notes as I can.
And I'm sure
see where we
there's something we can spend 20 grand on, right?
are. I'm sure we can find some.
Solar panels for the sewer plant.
All right,
Well,
our
I'm
biggest-
sure there's just a thousand things, right? Ideas that pop up. So
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing to pursue.
when things start getting back to normal and you guys start signing off on the checks, you're going to be amazed by how much money we spend on electricity, especially at the sewer treatment plant.
Is it a lot? Quite a bit.
It's
About
quite a bit.
$19,000 a year, which
Okay.
is what prompted
pumps,
a lot
yeah.
of this whole energy thing to start conversations going on.
So
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
We've been having, Ryan and I started these conversations way back before he left 2 years ago, year ago.
Yep.
So
Yeah, Ryan and I had our differences, but this was not something we disagreed on.
This was
So,
not one of them, huh?
right.
I mean, he worked hard towards clean energy.
And he did get us started. So, and that's part of his effort is why we're here today. So, any other questions? All right. Silence. We will move on. For attorney report. Hi, Nate.
Alrighty. So nothing overly major to report at this time. I've followed up with Ken again about the sign application that had been sent in, I think in December. I pointed out some deficiencies in the application. He's sent that apparently back to the applicant. And I assume that he hasn't received anything since then. I just emailed him asking for an update on that.
That was the
Um,
one with Tri-Town.
Yes, I remember, I think of it as the LG&T sign application.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, there's been
So-
no email correspondence that I've seen. He usually forwards me stuff.
Yep. So aside from that, pretty quiet month so far. I'm just waiting for Linda and Jason to call me with, the roof is on fire type of things, but I keep waiting.
Really don't want to be doing that.
We don't want to do that. Bite your tongue, Nate.
That's all I got though.
All right, thank you. All right, that's it for attorney's report. Clerk treasurer report. Linda.
Just a report on Dropbox for end of month, last month.
Okay. Let me show that real quick just so we can see it. I will get used to this eventually. Okay. This is basically just a summation of all the abstracts for the month. And just so you folks know, I do reconcile our accounts off of this as well. I do that. I try to do it monthly, just as part of our oversight here. Okay. Anything else, Linda?
Nothing for that.
Okay. All right. Next is the dog control report.
You forgot Ken.
Did I forget Ken? Did I skip one? Oh, code enforcement officer.
Enforcement.
Code enforcement. Let me bring that up. Okay. Get too many windows open here. Okay, here is Ken's reports. 5 building permits issued. 5 year to date. Oh, this is the first quarter. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. I have not seen where in the email correspondence where you had the discussion about chickens. I'm kind of glad I wasn't a part of that conversation.
And I don't think David had had that conversation with him because David would have said something.
For the sake of the new guys, we had some issues with chickens in the village. They are quite simply not allowed. So there just seems to be a discussion every once in a while as far as residents wanting to own chickens inside village limits. Yeah, it's a sore spot for some. Next, and he's dealing with some complaints regarding garbage. He's issued some stock work orders because proper permits were not filed. So it does look like he's had a pretty busy month, or busy quarter actually. And then, as you're all aware,
You can see down at the bottom, codes mandatory 24-hour training for Dave and Ken.
Oh.
That could be your answer, Scott.
Right. Now, does it have to be a specific training or just any training?
I would imagine
Jason
it's gonna
can.
have to be on the new energy stuff, but I will ask.
That's what. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
we'll try to find out.
Yep.
Because if we can get it to count, we will. And as you're all aware, Ken is retiring, I believe June 7th, Linda? Does that
Yes,
sound right?
June 7th is his last day with us.
Okay. I am still actively searching for a replacement. Nothing yet to report, except that I'm collecting resumes and that I am frustrated by the low number of people that are qualified for this job in this immediate area. So hopefully more news to come. Okay. Anything else on code enforcement? Nothing. Okay. Dog control.
Question on code enforcement. Is
Yeah,
there
go ahead.
any way, and you've seen it down Monroe Street, Jason,
Mhm.
junky places, stuff all over, and just really no excuse for how people live.
Right.
And I just don't know how we can get people to clean up.
That could
And
be
make your-
added to that list that I gave you, Jason. I think I know which property he's talking about specifically.
Okay.
There's 3 of them down Monroe Street, and then
Yes.
one of them somebody's bought and they're resurrecting the house.
And that's good to see. They're doing a lot of work to that house.
Yeah, and
But
but
the
there's
other
a
one is
couple
not.
up on the top, that are just horrendous.
Mhm.
Shame people have to come up that. If they come up to visit us, I tell them to come up Richards Drive.
Yeah. And then hopefully once
Sell
we
a
get,
house up.
yeah, we have given them a list of a few of these properties throughout the village. I'm not quite sure why enforcement has been a little lax. I'm not sure if it was based on a directive given to Ken or a lack thereof. But I have expressed, sorry?
Or COVID.
Or COVID. Yeah, that's true too. But I have expressed to both Ken and Dave that in the time remaining, I do want them actively looking for these properties. And, you know, I want to get rid of these garbage properties. I want them actually making an effort to maintain their property. So, and we are going to start enforcing that. Okay. All right. Next is the dog report. This is just for your reference. Just scroll through it slowly here. Looks like he's had several calls. Now we do pay Greg Starley to be our our dog control officer. He is the dog control officer for the town of Fenton as well. We pay him on a per call basis.
Long calls and short calls.
Right. So essentially, if it's a telephone call, that's one thing. If he has to actually roll out the vehicle and then go somewhere, that's it. That's a different classification. So it looks like a total of 8 calls listed. We usually end up budgeting a few hundred a month for him.
He is also the dog control officer for the town of Dickinson. And so I've had some experience with Greg. They've had a lot of issues with dogs in Dickinson. And at least from my experience with him, he does a great job.
He's been doing a wonderful job. We joke around every once in a while about spelling, but overall he's been wonderful.
Yeah, he's about catching dogs, not spelling.
You know what? If I had to choose, it would be the dogs. So.
Yep.
So this top one says Brookside Drive.
Yeah, it's right by you, Scott.
I thought so, but it says he had 33 miles. Is that where he had to? How long he had
That's
to?
out of the town of Fenton.
Oh, he comes from the town of Fenton.
Yep.
And that's what
Disadvantage.
Nate was just talking about. Is that he kind of does
It's a
come from
shared
there.
service.
Yep. But I was like, yeah, Brookside Drive, isn't that right by me?
Yep,
and
it
I haven't seen it's funny, he wasn't unable to locate the road. So
Well, it is right there on the edge, and just a small part of Brookside, I think, is in the village, right?
Right.
just
only small
a
portion.
very short portion of it. But I haven't noticed any loose dogs. I know Cafferty's dogs get out now and again, but I don't know. I'll keep an eye out.
That mileage is the main reason that he's not more successful, I think, in terms of he rolls quite a bit and can't find the dog by the time he gets here. It's one of the downsides of having somebody from so far away be our officer.
Oh,
But he
absolutely.
does do an absolute good job trying.
And honestly, when he's successful, it usually involves 2 rolls because he comes out, sets a trap, and then has to come back to check the trap.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, it's not the most efficient, but I mean, again, much
And
like
or the helps catch the bull.
yeah, is that true? He was involved in that.
He was involved in that one, I believe.
Nice. It's not the most efficient thing, but again, you know, there's not a whole lot of guys out there who want to do this.
Right.
We're a bit limited. Okay. All right. Next, fire department report, which I
did
believe
not
we
get
have not received one.
Nope.
I'll send Greg a mail. Okay. Next is the public works report. I'll share that. And Scott's and Josh have been incredibly busy. From, you know, pump failures to, you know, meter problems. They've just been very busy. I'm just going to sort of scroll through here. And this is on top of, you know, helping to fix the door at the fire station.
Before you stroll too far,
Oh, sure.
this one right here, this is also noted in the newsletter going out with the water bills this time.
Okay, yeah, right at the bottom, on Hickory Street, second line from the bottom, we had pump station 4, the Hickory Street, plugged 2 times with small towels. People are flushing like cloth towels down the drain, which of course gets caught up in the pumps and damages them. So Scott requested that we put a note in with the water bills. We do a newsletter with those, requesting that people cease doing that. So hopefully somebody will read that and realize their mistake and no longer do it. Fingers crossed.
Is it something we've done before where we just put a note in there that says don't flush small, or is it something where it's like a campaign like bulletin flyer thing where it's like what's
It's
appropriate to
bold
flush
on
down
the
your
bottom
toilets?
It's pretty bold on the bottom of the newsletter in big print.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right. I mean, again, it's really hard to track who's doing it. Aside from, we know it's the Hickory Street pump, so they can narrow it down to the houses that services, but you're still talking several.
Yeah, and I was just wondering if it was like a separate insert in the water bill you were doing, or just a notice on the
Notice
actual
in the
water bill.
newsletter.
Yeah,
Okay,
we
got ya.
send newsletters with each of the water bills.
Yep.
For year one for each season. So
Okay.
we get.
Inside users.
Oh, that's true too. So I mean, if it doesn't get better, then yeah, maybe we should start doing something more community centered. But the expenses of doing a separate mailing might enter into it as well. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's funny. Small towels.
Yeah, literally like cloth towels. I don't know who flushes these things. I mean, some things the size wise, he was amazed. He's like, I don't know how you get these down a toilet.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, you had to actually want that. You had to make that happen. Amazing.
Okay. So, if anybody has any questions for Scott or Josh, just let me know, and I will forward them on. But they've been keeping very busy, thankfully so. That they're there to do that for us. So, as far as the sewer report, I have nothing to report at this time. Thanks, Jeff. And as far as I'm concerned, that is the best news I've heard from the sewer department in a very long time.
Nice.
I mean, they're great guys, but they've had to do a lot of work to that station, and I'm very happy that we didn't have to spend a lot of money this month. Okay. All right. Fire department report, people report, sewer report. We're on to the resolutions. All right. First off is the Town of Barker fire contract, like we discussed last time.
Can we take down the public works report?
Oh, thank you, Bob.
No problem.
I'll get used to this one of these days. Don't worry. I did personally hand off the fire contract to Barker. I did not get a chance to speak with Lois. She was not in the office, but I did chat with the clerk and delivered the contract. We have not heard back yet.
They haven't had a meeting, I don't think, Jason.
Right.
I don't think they
Makes
meet
sense.
until May now.
Okay. So, but we do need to resolve to adopt that contract. Let me bring that up on the screen. Okay. Here it is. I'm not going to read it off. Can everybody see that? All right.
Should the call at the bottom, am I missing something? Where it has
No, you
Mayor
haven't
Ronald?
called yet, Scott, but I'm prepared for that. And then I make changes based on who's here, who's not here in the votes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Predetermined,
Gotcha.
Scott.
And then I have to sign it, seal it after the meeting. So
Okay. I'm like, am I missing? Gotcha. Thank you guys. Sorry.
yep, I'm just prepared ahead of time. Sorry.
If everything looks good, I will look
I
for a
have to
motion.
go in and change Mayor Reynolds to Mayor Summers and that whole thing anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was more questioning. I didn't.
It's boilerplate. It's from last year.
Right. Gotcha.
Right. But the premise is still the same. It's just for this year's contract. Linda, the number is correct, though, right?
Correct.
The amount? Okay.
Mhm.
And as we discussed last time, it is a 2% increase over last year. Okay. I'll look for a motion once you guys are all set.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Marv, second.
I'll second.
Scott seconds. Okay. And call the votes. Marv,
Yes,
Bob,
Yes,
Scott.
Yes.
I'm going to call Fran, but I don't think she's going to answer.
She's not.
I know. Okay. And I will vote yes as well. Let's see. Any discussion? Okay. Moving on. Stop that share. Next, issue of the tax warrant. Okay, share screen. All right, here's our tax warrant resolution. Looks like this one was modified.
Mhm.
All right, this is to approve. Essentially, we approved our budget at the previous meeting. This is to execute the tax warrants to collect those funds. Feel free to read that through, and I'll entertain a motion when you're ready.
I move that we execute the tax warrant.
Good. Second,
I'll second the motion.
Marv. Okay. All right, and vote. Marv,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Any discussion? Okay. All right, so resolved. Okay, Nate, you're gonna have to help me out with this one a bit. The adult use cannabis opt-out law. Now, the state has passed legislation allowing these establishments, correct?
You're gonna take this one off the screen, Jason. Sorry.
Thank you. Hopefully, you won't have to remind me that many times.
So, yes, the state has passed a law legalizing the consumption of marijuana, and then they have given until the end of this year for local municipalities to opt out of allowing the sale of marijuana within their geographic borders. The state is still putting together a lot of regulations on this right now, so it's kind of unclear what that will mean. You know, like what limits is the state going to put on this, for example? We don't have any idea right now. Maybe it's possible the state might say only so many permits, or the state might say you as a local municipality, if you allow it, can limit the number of locations. I would say right now we're not in a position to opt out yet, and we have time. Nobody's setting up any places to sell this. Nobody's setting up any places to grow it. So this is something that we're actively monitoring. Everybody's highly interested in it, and we'll be issuing or recommending some guidance later in the year once the state issues some more specific regulations on this. But right now, too early to act on. However, I think what would be important is a discussion amongst the trustees, kind of just where your head's at in general. If you all say, yeah, we don't want to allow the sale at all, so tell us, you know, if and when the state guidance does come out, how we do that. You know, then I can focus on that. If you all say, well, you know, we're not necessarily opposed to it, okay, then, you know, what regulations can we otherwise also enact instead of just a full-blown prohibition? So we'll be able to give that guidance as well later, though, not today.
Right. That makes sense. You said the end of the year is when the state is supposed to at least something not so a little more concrete, right? Or will it be official at the end of the year?
We have,
Well, yeah, so the opt-out is definitely at the end of the year. You
Okay.
have to opt out by December 31st. If you haven't opted out, then your chance to opt out apparently expires. This is like a one-time
Gotcha.
opt-out or not.
But we may or may not have more specific guidelines at that time.
We expect in the next few months the state
Okay.
to be actively providing guidance and issuing new regulations on what the sale of marijuana actually looks like. I wouldn't be shocked if it ends up being like the sale of alcohol. You need a state license to do it, X feet from schools, X feet from daycare centers, churches, God knows what else.
Mhm.
And so that's going to naturally limit the potential locations for recreational marijuana dispensary. But like, for example, I have no idea, is the Speedway going to be able to sell weed?
Right.
Probably not, but maybe.
You never know, right?
Yeah, we just don't know at this point. And I think that's what we kind of need to understand. What are the restrictions the state is going to put on it? So where the heck could it theoretically even be within the village? And then how does your local zoning code apply to this also? So maybe you would say, well, we want to allow it, but we want to restrict its location by zoning. So it can only happen in, I don't even know, pick your district, a commercial district, and then only so long as it's 1,000 feet from a school. Maybe limits it to like three places potentially. Maybe you're okay with that.
So working
How does that-
backwards time-wise, you're looking at by the end of December, if they're opting out, they need to have this done. So in order to do it, they'd have to do it for 30 days prior, or how long time frame are we looking prior to start that role if they opt to go out?
Yeah, if we wanted to opt out, what's our drop dead date, right?
Early November, they have to start?
I believe the actual drop dead date to have adopted the opt out is December 31st.
But we
And
have to
so
go
I don't
through
have
referendum and
the
stuff probably
yeah.
beforehand.
potentially. I don't have the full blown process yet memorized off the top of my head.
So probably
currently-
roughly the end of October, first part of November is my guess.
Yeah, I mean, I would say
For the-
start the
For the time
process.
frame to turn things in and do
'Cause-
what we have to do.
You know, Linda, to your point, I believe, and this is, don't hold me to this, but I
No,
believe your decision to opt out would be subject to a potential referendum if the public wants it.
Right.
And so you need to build in the timeline to allow for that. So yeah, probably, I would suggest if you're gonna opt out,
2 days.
start it by the end of August. You know, the public discussions about where we're headed, just so you guys can get a sense of where your citizens even want you to go. I mean, really, that's gonna be the biggest thing, because I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of organization to push this to a vote. And really the timing of it would make sense for having a referendum on this during the November elections, because
We
then,
don't have an election in November. Ours is in March.
yeah, but the town does, right?
The town has an election. Would it go on their ballot then?
Well, they'll have to also choose whether they're gonna opt out or not, but it wouldn't go on their ballot, but the county runs the November elections anyway, and so we'd say to the county, we're holding a special election on the day of the regular election, and please run it for us. And I'm assuming the county will do that.
Okay.
But so really, that's probably the key date for us, is thinking of how do we need to take action to line up? If you're opting out, how do we take action to line up to put any referendum on the November ballot?
That makes sense. Okay.
And if the town were to opt out, would that be moot for us, or?
No, so my understanding is that the town only decides for areas outside the village.
Okay.
Yeah, so no no passing this buck to the town.
It worked for Frank.
My take on marijuana is that our governor wants it because of revenue stream from it. And if towns and villages and opt out of it, is that going to affect them as far as sales tax back to the towns and revenue from the state?
It will. So if you opt out, you will not share in any of the tax revenue from the sale of marijuana.
Okay.
That's leverage you're going to use.
Right. There's always some penalization with no funding, right, from the state or the county or however it's going to go. So is that, we wanted to just discuss that?
If you guys want to give me your, I mean, if you want to shout out some opinions right now, you're welcome to. I mean, again, we don't need to decide anything. If you just want to see
right,
are sitting, that's fine.
I definitely, so yeah, I'll give you my take on it, is that, I see it as an opportunity for, residents and businesses to grow, but I think it needs to be done responsibly and, definitely with the voice of our constituents, right? We need to hear kind of what they have to say, but I think it's an opportunity we got to look at and make a decision about. So I don't think, I agree with Nate, just saying we're going to opt out now might be a little early, but trying to have a serious thought about it. Yeah, I think it should be done. Yeah. Thinking about it, not that, yes, we need to start selling weed from every corner store around Whitney Point, we need to seriously take a look at what opportunities this could bring to the village and its residents and us for funding.
You know, one of the things that I guess would be interesting to do is a community survey. You know, send out a mailer to all the residents. Basically, you know, think brainstorming questions here, right? But yes or no,
Right.
sale of marijuana within the village of Whitney Point, and any other questions that might be helpful and relevant to making a decision. Because if you send out, you know, how many residents are in the village? Is it
900 or so?
964.
so? If you send out
90,
400
depending on
households
the
or something like that.
2019 census or the 2000.
Yeah, so 400 households though, right? So you send one to each household. You ask how many people live in your household, and does your household support legalization or the sale rather of marijuana for consumption, personal consumption within the village of Whitney Point. And then based on those responses, you get a solid sense of will a petition be filed, and if it is filed, if you opt out and a petition is filed, would the vote pass over, you know, overriding your opt out? Or maybe you get surprisingly large support for the authorization and legalization or sale of it within the village, in which case, okay, you know, other questions on a survey could be something like, would you prefer the sale to be restricted to a specific zoning district or so many feet from these types of locations, or whatever other things that we could think of? I mean, as I say all this, I'm just thinking to myself, golly, this feels like something that the Broome County Planning Department should be all over to helping, because they often do community surveys through their comprehensive planning process. And maybe we can reach out to them and say, are you guys planning on doing anything to assist local municipalities engaging community support for this issue? Because it really is a pretty big one, obviously.
And it's going to
And
affect every municipality,
it affects everybody.
including
And
the
there's
county.
and the way that we can look at it is, I mean, this is a zoning question. It's a land use question, in addition to the simple idea of allowing the sale or not.
I was surprised by this because I did not realize that the local governments would have a say in whether opting out or allowing it. I guess my own feelings don't matter. I guess I see it as the way the world is going. It certainly seems to be the way the country is going and the state is going. And I just assumed that it would come to pass and it would be handled, we would have to handle it through zoning, as Nate is just talking about, in the same way that we handled adult entertainment a few years back, you know, zoning that away from churches and schools, the way we did that with tobacco and I believe alcohol as well. So I assumed that this is the way I'd be happy. I didn't know we were going to have to make a decision whether to allow it or not here in the village. So I was surprised by that part. So that's my thoughts, Jason. I don't know.
Yeah.
I agree. It does seem bigger than just letting the village decide.
Right.
But
You know, I mean, the other piece to really understand, right, or just to think through, if you say you're opting out, that only means the sale of it can't happen in the village. People are going to buy it somewhere else. If they're really interested in smoking, they're going to go buy it somewhere else where it is legal, and they'll, you know, watch, the town allows it. So enterprising person is going to set it up right on the border, and nobody's going to be able to do anything about it.
Right. And we miss out on all the sales tax revenue.
And you miss out on the sales
Right.
tax revenue.
Okay. I mean, I'm honestly currently on the fence. I'm not really swinged either way. I think it really depends on a lot of questions that the state needs to answer for us. I don't want to be charged with having to enforce any of these regulations. So I don't know what our responsibility is going to be in that regard. But I guess it'll depend on what we hear coming down the pipe. So
And that'll be tricky timing, right? Like, getting some feedback from the state as to what may be going on long term,
Right.
and then teeing up the timeline to opt out if we choose to, or it comes down to
Right.
that.
and we'd have to work out the zoning too, right? I mean,
Yep.
you can't throw a stone without hitting a school or a church in Windy Point
Or a
Yeah,
daycare.
basically,
or
or
daycare.
daycare.
And
Literally, yeah.
honestly, if the state by its own regulations imposes a feet, distance limitation on this, it's a worthwhile exercise to, on the Broome County GIS, put a pin, because I think you can do this. You put a pin in all of these locations, like you can do it on Google Maps. Put a pin in it, draw a circle around it. You'll see very quickly, like where, if anywhere, this could actually happen.
Yeah, that's a good point. It could just,
We won't
take
know
care of itself through regulation, that there's not really a spot for one, right, in the village.
But we
Right.
won't know until more information comes out at this point.
Yep.
Right.
So
That's where I was coming from with, we got to keep an open mind, but I think we definitely need some guidance from county, state to start generating thoughts ourselves. But definitely the community outreach and getting a sense of, really what our residents think is a great idea.
okay, sounds like we're willing to entertain the notion. So
And
it's
we
not a
know-
hard fast no.
We know how timely the governor has been in making pronouncements.
Okay. Thank you, Nate. Thank you, everyone. Any other discussion on that topic? Okay, we'll move on to the next discussion. This is more of, I just kind of want to get an idea going forward of what you all think. We have closed the village office to the public for COVID.
Walking in.
For-
We've been open to the
To the public.
We've been open to the public through a window at the back of the office. So we've
Right.
still been doing business.
Right. So the doors have been locked since last March. We've been doing business via phone and through the window in the side of Sandy's office. And
Online credit cards.
yep, we implemented online payment methods. So we have adapted much like the rest of the world has to this crisis.
By appointment. We've done some by appointment.
Right. And nobody has expressed any frustration in how we are doing our business, which is good. So, but I kind of feel it's irresponsible if we don't at least broach the subject of what are we thinking about reopening the village? Are we thinking of the office to the public? Is this something we're content just leaving status quo for now and just see how things pan out? Do we have a date we want to shoot for to try and, reopen the office? I just kind of wanted to get your feelings to see where we stand.
I will tell you all that I have contacted every municipality within Broome County. I've talked to almost all of them except a couple at this point. It's a 50-50 split within the county. Half are still closed, half have opened. The bigger municipalities are still closed. Town of Vestal, Town of Unions by appointment only. So it's across the board as to a lot of them are still, half and half are still doing Zoom meetings. Half are doing in person. Some have taken this opportunity to also, like the town of Conklin, go a little more restrictive. And so where people come in our back door, they've opened that back door, but then by the second door, that's now locked and they have a separate window that they do customer service through. So they're not in throughout the whole building, but yet it's sort of like a window, but inside. They've done that for a couple reasons. One was COVID and one was also for employee safety. So they took this opportunity to do that. So I will share, that's how it's happening throughout Broome County at this point.
Anybody have any initial thoughts or concerns, questions?
Is the town offices open up front?
The town office is open, DMV is by appointment only, and the court is only by Zoom at this point.
So a bit of a mix.
I know I had to renew my mother's handicap parking thing at the town of Vestal, and that is open. They have a table and plexiglass as soon as you come through the door, and you stand opposite a woman at a table, and do your business with masks and stuff like that. But the office is open to some extent, at least.
To some extent, but not open like where everybody can just wander through. So they view that as closed.
Uh,
We
Yeah.
could do that. We could do that at our village office in that little foyer area where you go in the back door and put a window into Sandy's office.
We actually have one outside right now, which is we've been using, as
Yeah.
you mentioned, which has been working fine.
I'm thinking in the inclement weather or winter, or, you
Right.
know,
I will say that in the plans that were done for the new office portion of the fire station building, that was the plan that was drawn in there for the village office out of it. So, and that was for security, for safety, not COVID at the time. Because at that point, COVID wasn't even thought of, but it was more of a security safety thing.
so are the offices closed because of COVID or because of a security?
COVID. It's closed.
Okay.
COVID.
Closed because of COVID.
Okay, well, because we're talking security and we're talking COVID, I just want to make sure we're clear on which one. Is there anything that says we can't open before we talk about opening? Is there like the town or somebody
I
that's
don't feel that we're ready
have to
yet.
stay
I
closed?
don't feel that there's enough safety out there to open our offices or enough need.
Well, so that would be my next question would be, what is the need driving it?
There's only 28.5% in the county that are fully vaccinated at this time.
That's regardless. I would ask, what is the business need for opening the office?
There isn't one.
Right.
So you-
Some
right.
aspect of business that we can't perform, can't get done, needs to be done in person, needs to be able to walk into that office and see you face to face. What
And I've been doing notaries through the window. We've taken water bills through the window. We've done what we've needed to do, and we continue to service our customers. We've never turned a customer away.
So you're using a window. I would consider that open. You're opening a window, you're doing your business, you're handing documents back and forth. They're just not in the building and they're not.
Correct. They're
right
not in the
next-
building. That's the catch. This is the question, in the building.
Mhm.
Correct. We are open. We have been
So-
open every day, even through all of COVID. I've been here. Just like
Okay.
someone was at Public Works every day, even with a
Okay.
50% staff. So we were never technically shut or closed. Some municipalities closed down completely, if I'm not wrong. Am I not, Nate?
So then would
We
opening
just
the
don't
office,
we don't open our office door for people to walk in.
sure. And so would doing that be more of a convenience to the customers we are serving through the window?
That's a good
Is that
summation. yes.
is that the consensus? Is, it would be more convenient for our customers if we could open and allow them to walk in the
Not
office.
re-
I- Some may feel that way.
I don't
It's just
see
a
where
matter
it
of what
is,
we think. Yeah.
personally. I mean, but
Okay.
I have not heard any complaints.
no,
Personally.
nobody has complained about it.
I know Sandy would prefer doing the in-person thing.
Well, I mean, as you walk into the office, it's a pretty narrow hallway. Could you set a table up with plexiglass right
No.
there
It would
to,
be difficult.
or is there a code issue with fire and escape and
There's not
egress, that
enough
sort of
space.
stuff?
Right. And anybody would have to, like, if somebody's at that window, they're gonna have to walk by that person to get 6 feet away in the first place.
Right. So opening to the office would include them coming in, walking, and standing between the two office doors to
Mhm.
conduct business, right?
Mhm. There's not enough space there.
So
They have more than one person in there at a time, like you have at the post office.
Right. So then that would be my next question is, can it be opened in a way that meets current social distancing, if we're closed because of COVID, social distancing and, sanitation guidelines? Right. Can you get somebody in there and still stay 6 feet apart or have a plastic barrier or, sanitize before and after coming in and out, whatever we're feeling about that. But so can that be done?
I think it would be difficult to get more than one person and socially distance appropriately.
Okay.
So.
So and this is just my opinion, feel free to shoot me down, just tell me to be quiet, Scott. But if we're able to conduct our business without, complaint by our customers, they have access when they need it. There's not, a lack of business. The window seems to be doing okay. You also can't get somebody in the office in a socially distant, safe manner. It's kind of stacking up in my mind to we're okay the way we are and able to function.
Okay. Anybody else?
I think I'd agree with that. If we don't think we're impacting customer service, then
I don't think we are.
let's stay the way we are for right now. I do think, just my own feeling on it is that if we were to enforce masks, nobody comes in the office and stays 20 minutes,
Some have, I'm telling you now.
well,
In the past, some customers have come in and stood and talked to pay a water bill.
Well, and that would have to be a regulation, like Bob's
Right.
saying, like if
Yeah,
you're going
I'm
to come in the
just saying,
office,
It does happen.
exactly,
Just
it
so
could
you
be
know.
handled.
you leave, you wear a mask, and then you leave after 20 minutes or before 20 minutes is up.
I mean, the CDC is saying it involves length of exposure as well, but I'm not in favor of, forcing that down. If we're doing okay the way we are, then I think we should stay the way we are for now.
I'm in favor of that. And the 6-foot rule is really coming to light that actually, if you're in a building and it can be a 20-foot room and then if somebody's contagious, it goes through that room. 6 feet means nothing
It's in the air.
unless you have a good ventilation system taking everything out of the air. So
Yeah.
it can spread 20 feet in a matter of 5 minutes. So I'm good with the way we're doing it.
Okay, well, thank you. That's all I want to do. I wanted to start a discussion. Let's just know that this is something we need to ultimately do. It doesn't have to be right now.
Well, and it's probably something we're going to have to revisit. So if you wanted to, like right now we're saying, hey, let's stay where we are. Let's get it on the agenda for,
August.
the third meeting or the next
Right.
month, the
That
end
was
of
gonna be
next
my
month,
next
right?
question. Well, schools, we don't know what schools are going to be doing. I imagine schools are working towards 5 days a week nowadays. That they're probably gonna be shooting for the new school year to be,
Well, I know BU is, we're going to do a full open. So all kids on campus, but all students will be required to do weekly testing. They are discussing, but haven't finalized, requiring vaccinations. I think there's a lot of legalese to work out there. It's been mentioned, but I don't know that that'll go through. But yeah, so that's what some of the universities, and we're not the only university.
No,
looking
some
at trying to fully
universities like
open.
SU is saying that everybody has to be vaccinated. All students have to be vaccinated. So, and there's a lot.
They've jumped the gun. There's some state
Yep.
things that have to happen
They're
there.
private versus state. Yes.
Right. Not to mention, there's also the possibility that if the governor does not extend the remote meeting law, then we might have to have public meetings, publicly accessible, right?
Yep, I know that for state workers, August 1st, everybody who works at BU has to be in a seat on campus. You have to be back to campus to work August 1st, and that's coming from the state. So I mean, personally, like I've been down on campus working since last August, just through this whole pandemic and doing all the different things for students and stuff. Wearing masks and sanitizing frequently, as I'll knock on wood, but it's kept everybody pretty safe and healthy. So
Excellent. Good discussion. Thank you.
In that same discussion, Jason, I don't know if this is the place to have the discussion about where you and I were discussing the other days about requiring all employees to become vaccinated. You would mention something about that.
I don't know. I guess it's a good question to ask.
It's
I'm
one of those
kind of
things-
hesitant,
I
but
didn't think we could. Jason thought maybe we could.
I guess we can ask Nate and see what he thinks.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know if you could actually. I know that some municipalities are giving a bonus to some employees for getting vaccinated. That was on the news last week or week before.
This is, I know, I don't know the answer. I haven't had a client yet ask me this specifically. I'll certainly talk with my labor folks who I'm sure have had this come up before with other clients who are a bit larger and are also moving towards reopening, like schools, for example.
Right.
That's an excellent question. And I'm sure that question has come up. So I can check on that.
Right.
We didn't know if we could, couldn't, should, shouldn't. I was kind of saying no. He was kind of thinking maybe.
I know what I get told by our guys, but who knows? That retail establishment.
We'd appreciate you checking out on that. Just curious.
Yep.
So.
Okay, great. So we'll revisit this in a couple months. We'll see if our opinions have changed or if we want to continue to stay the course.
Is there a ventilation system with HEPA filters in the office building down there at all?
No, I don't believe there's the good filtration on this system down here. The good filtration was asked of the town back when this whole thing started, and they were told that, oh, no, you don't need that. And so they never proceeded at that time. I think maybe it's something that Jason could readdress with the supervisor if he ever meets with him, that they install that upgraded filtration system on the system.
I can ask.
It doesn't hurt to ask.
Mhm.
Because there was a special number for the filtration system that they first gave out, special filter.
Well, it's
That was
the
ear-
size
that
of
was
the
early
particles that
on,
can go
but-
through. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
it's
early
a
on.
HEPA number.
Yeah, like
but-
120 something, 125, 123 something.
Yeah, Marv's absolutely right though. Like how air flows through a building and its space has a huge impact on infection.
Right.
And
We know we
being
get all the
exposed.
cold air down here. We know that.
Although we did have a contractor renovating our data center, test positive for COVID, and nobody who was working in that space, myself included, tested positive. And the airflow at that point, it was a data center with giant crack units opened, so it was just everybody's air blowing around everybody. So it's weird. Like the virus is just weird. There's no rhyme and reason. The heck with the
So-
science.
Sounds like we're playing it safe right now for now. So, all right. Any other comments on that? I know we're kind of running long, so I'm going to try and wrap this up here.
Old business.
Old business. Yep. Only got one thing. I followed up. I'm pretty sure I mentioned the situation with parking on North Collins Street last time. I have contacted both parties involved and essentially gave them two options. One, that they can work together to find come up with some sort of schedule between the two of them, so they're not fighting over these otherwise public parking spaces. And if they can, great. But if they can't, we always have the option of just getting out some paint and marking them as no parking. As it stands right now, I'm hoping they discuss, because that would be the most amenable option. My gut's probably telling me that they would both desire that the other person does not have access more than anything else. So we may end up marking those as no parking. If anybody has any questions, let me know. But that's currently where it stands.
Can't put meters there, can we?
Meters? I don't know.
You can park there, but you're just going to cost you.
We can't put meters there. Well-
Okay, just checking.
Yeah.
We can make them electric charging stations.
Well, now we're thinking, aren't we?
Can't do that
It's
either,
like
can they?
that lot is right next to it, which affords the number of lots required or spaces required for that. That's brilliant.
All right, I'm not gonna get off on a tangent there.
I
just
like
wanted to give you an
your
update.
letter. I think it makes sense, Jay.
So you all saw the letter that I wrote, and that's essentially what it was. It's just, can't we all just get along? We can work this out. If not, then we have to come in and make a decision that's going to hurt everybody involved, which I hopefully don't want to do. Okay. Unless there's any other questions on that, I really don't have any new business. Unless I'm forgetting something. Linda, you know anything offhand?
No, not that I'm
Good.
aware of, Jason.
Cool. Anybody else have any new business?
We should probably be hearing fairly soon from our new garbage people, right, about bringing around bins and stuff.
That's also in the newsletter. Sandy did talk with them, and I believe it's May 17th, somewhere May 17th to the 21st is when they're going to bring them around. I think that's what she's got in there. And I believe that they will have directions on the bin itself as to how it's going to work, where you should put them, that sort of thing, where you shouldn't put them. So.
Right. Once I get those, I'll try to also disseminate that information via social media. So at least they see
They
it
go
more
in
than once.
June 1st.
That goes into effect June 1st. Yeah. So our first garbage pickup will be June 1st,
June 1st, yeah.
which is a Tuesday.
Okay. Anybody else? Speak now or hold your peace. No? All right. That's the meeting. Thank you all for attending.
Okay, thank you.
Have a wonderful week. So